But I didn't, things didn't get too out of hand with powder and cocaine because the downside is that after you're smoking cocaine for 2 or 3 days, your nose gets all blocked up and it starts bleeding, and therefore you have to stop using. I didn't lose my job. I mean, nothing bad happened in those first couple of years, so it really wasn't too bad. But pretty soon, I was hanging around with a lot of friends who was doing freebase, and that's the beginning of the last 3 years of my partying that just really threw my life into a crazy spin. And it was just I've been working for full time for 15 years, and I had a bunch of rentals for about 12 years, and I had a lot of money coming in, and I had a lot of money put back. And the one thing that somebody with extra resources doesn't need is a crack addiction. And I would have never believed what was coming up the next 36 months of my life. But anyway, let's go into the first year here. Once actually, it took me a while to figure out how to smoke crack. But actually, believe it or not, it's kind of a science. I bet I burned up $200 or $300 just trying to learn how to do it because I kept drawing real hard and I couldn't get anything. And finally, some of the experts around me had to explain how to do it and slow things down. And once I got my technique down, then a lot of addicts will talk about that very first high that they had. For me, it was that very first taste. And once I got that pipe hot, and once I got that big old glass pipe filled with crack smoke, and I could taste that cocaine when it was in my mouth. That's something that still is pretty vivid to me to this day. I remember breathing that in. My whole body was numb from about my chest up, and my face was numb, my mouth was numb, my whole chest was numb, and I absolutely loved that. I mean, it was the most fabulous feeling that I've ever felt. And then when I released this big mushroom cloud-sized thing of smoke, I knew right then with that massive head rush, I never felt nothing like that in my life. I knew right then that I was going to be a slave to crack cocaine. I knew it. I mean, I even said the words "uh-oh" to the person that was standing there. I just couldn't believe that I just made this one wrong turn in life that was about ready to put my whole life in a tailspin. It was just devastating. But I maintained my job there for about the first 6 months. It was, I just got to the point to where first off, I was smoking crack every weekend, and then it got to where it was every night. It was progressive, just like everything else that I've ever tried, which I just did booze and coke. But once I got to about 6 months into it, I was doing 24 hours a day. I was even going to work. I worked 11-hour shifts at a restaurant. So I just took my crack with me. My employer knew that I was on drugs. Every time they saw me when I'd come in, my eyes would be all buggy. I mean, a couple of them would just shake their heads, and they just a couple of them said something to me. They said, this really has to go away because I've been. You've been here a long time, but we can't have somebody here taking care of customers when you're in the state that you're in. I didn't care. I didn't listen. I just kept on partying, never believing that they were ever actually going to truly fire me. But they actually did. Once I got about that 7th month, my area supervisor called me at home. They didn't even do it face to face, and they just pretty much let me know that our time together was probably over, and they wished me well, and they hope I was going to get things back on track. So, but I wasn't even upset. Here I was with a mortgage and a girl and a kid that I was raising, and I had all these rental properties, and I had mortgages on them, and I didn't even care because I was a full-blown crack addict. I didn't have time to go to work 11 hours a day anymore. I mean, that was just getting in my way. And most people that are lost in active addiction, guys, most of them don't have jobs. That's just the way things are. I'm just explaining what I've probably seen. I'm not saying that some don't, but anybody that's got a job and once they get into full-blown active addiction, it's just hard to work and maintain your drugs. It just really is. But what I did was, so by this time, I was spending tons of money, just going through tons of money. Money that I had worked hard for my whole life, and money that I had saved, and money that I was putting there for me and my girl for when we got older. I was just hoping that we was going to be able to retire by the time I was, 50 or 55. But I was just burning through $500-600 a day. And I did this for about 4 or 5 months. I bet I spent 20 grand on crack in no time. And obviously something's got to change here. mean, so what do I do here? I mean, how do I maintain my addiction here and not spend all this cash? So, what I noticed was all my friends was doing it too. So, me, I was brainstorming. I still had some cash saved up, so I went ahead and I started buying it in bulk, so I could just start, selling to my friends. I mean, it made sense. And what I didn't see was that after I sold half the bag to my friends, the other half of mine was free. So that's when my addiction really kicked into overdrive, was when I had 10, 15 grams of cocaine every day, and it cost me nothing. Here we go. So now I'm getting into the last 2 years of my addiction. At this time, my girlfriend, I was driving her crazy. I mean, I was staying out for 2 or 3 days at a time. I wasn't coming home, and she was just absolutely mortified by what I was doing. But I came home one day, and she had stole my phone, and she called my drug dealer, and she called him up, and she got her own bag. So I came home, and she was smoking it. And a lot of part of me was relieved, so at least now she'll start bitching at me. And that's what I actually said. I was happy the fact that she was now on crack cocaine, because now we're not going to argue. That's how lost and sick I was at that time. That that was my solution to get her off my back. I mean, heaven forbid I stop and we get our lives back. But no, I was driving her to the absolute edge, and that's what happened. So now her and I are partying. We're partying, side by side, and this addiction also created another bad thing. My mother's here, so I'm going to try and find a way to put this in a very soft way. The term sex, drugs, and rock and roll comes to mind. Cocaine was a very sexual drug, so then I was bringing girls home from Muncie when I was buying my dope, and I had a couple of vacant apartments I was stashing them in. So now I've become a compulsive liar, because I'm just trying to juggle women and dope and customers, and so now I have a full-blown criminal enterprise going here, because drugs are in fact illegal. And we didn't see it that way. We just thought we were just selling drugs to each other, and that's just what people do. We're partying. I mean, we're not hurting no one. None of us thought we were involved in anything bad. But as things escalated further, let me see, what's the next stage of the game here? We keep moving forward until my first arrest. So at this time, guys, I was just completely bombarded. I was out of my mind. I wasn't thinking. My whole life wasn't even about calendars or watches anymore. It was about a full bag of crack to a bag of crack that was down to about 3 grams. I never even left my bedroom the last 18 months of my using, guys, because I was so isolated. I only left to go get more drugs. And I just laid in my bedroom for 18 months with the TV off, the stereo off, and the shades drawn. And I smoked crack in the dark for 18 months. That's what I did the last 18 months of my using. Now, the only way the police could actually get me was to and from, because the only time I actually left my house was to get more drugs. So the 3 times that I got arrested in the last year was when they got me. Because when it came to the drug deals, I had 2 or 3 mules that were there. I was giving them free dope, and they were taking whatever to so and so. I mean, that's how it worked. So it got to where me and my girl never even left the house just to buy more drugs. And my girlfriend lost her job within 24 hours after she started doing it too. I forgot to actually mention that. So now both of us are unemployed. I still have some houses left, but there's no real income. Our income is coming from drug sales. Our daughter is just unbelievably mortified. She was starting her first year of college at Ball State at that time. And she was extremely upset with her dad at that time. I mean, she just couldn't believe it, because my daughter saw me my whole life, working a full-time job and running a business, and now all of a sudden I'm not doing nothing besides smoking crack. I mean, she was just devastated by that. So my daughter stayed away for these last 2 years. Whenever she did come home, she would just call us, and she would stay at her boyfriend's house. So that first arrest came. And at this time, guys, I had no prior criminal record. I was 33 years old, 34. And I had no priors, and this was my first arrest. But this first arrest was powerful, because I just came home with 50 grams of crack. And I believe when they arrested me, I think I had 38 of them still left on me, because that's how a lot of my drug deals happened, because a lot of my guys were waiting on me to come home from Muncie. So I would meet them at Horton and Eaton and these little country roads along the way home. And I would get rid of half my stash before I even got back to Harvard. But when I got back, I heard my girlfriend got arrested. There was obviously a sting of some kind. I mean, I'm telling you, they were on to us because there was a bunch of people that was using drugs at that time, and most of it was coming from my bag. But by the time they got to me, we got pulled over on Jefferson Street, and I got almost close to 40 grams of crack on me. So that was my first arrest. That didn't change anything. I bonded out. I didn't care. By this time, I was completely lost in the drugs. So, it just didn't matter. So I bonded out, and I headed straight back over. I was pissed off because the cops stole my drugs, and I just went and bought more. So, the game didn't skip a beat just because I just bonded out for 4 Class B felonies. I mean, and this was back before Obama, changed the drug law. Because back then, getting arrested for that much dope was the same as murder or rape or child molesting. I mean, it was a serious felony. But I didn't care. It just didn't matter because that's the best phrase of speech for me to explain my whole life at that point was I just didn't care. I was so lost in the drug, I just didn't care. So I bonded out and nothing skipped a beat, and we went right back to selling drugs and using drugs and isolating and doing nothing with our lives. And then, bam, 3 months later, the second arrest came. Boom. They hit me with another 15 grams. So now I'm out on bond one time, and now I got to bond out again. They've got me with 50 grams of crack, and you would have thought that would have slowed someone down. But please don't underestimate the power of a drug addict. I just didn't care, And by this time, I had to go mortgage one of my houses, and I had to go hire a really ritzy lawyer, and he was saying good things to me, like, hey, I think I can get you a pretty good deal, and he said, just stop what you're doing. So he says, you stop using drugs. He said, I can tell by the way you look, that you're still using, because I stopped eating, I stopped drinking, I stopped sleeping. I just lived on speed. Well, the next thing that came into play was a bone infection because cocaine and hard drugs, all drugs dirty the blood, and I got a blood blister on my heel, and I just left it. It popped open, and I just left it. And I knew that my foot hurt real bad, and everybody that came to my house told me that the whole place stunk of a gangrene, and my whole leg was rotten off. But I wouldn't stop smoking crack long enough to go to the hospital. So my whole leg, I had my whole left foot was green, and I had red streaks coming up my leg. And the doctors first told me that they had to cut it off up to the knee. Well, by the time that I actually finally got there, they said there is no way we can save that left leg. They said, how in the world why are you just now here? And I knew my leg was rotten off, but I didn't care. I was on crack, and I just didn't care. I didn't care about anything. So I just laid there in a bed with this foot pussing and seeping out. And, you guys, I'm wearing a regular shoe right now, but yesterday, I've been dealing with this for about 9 years now. A long time. I've had, they just operated on it. They just, they really ran me through the ringer on this thing. But the fact that I still have a foot is a miracle. Because crack was more important than my health. It was more important than my family. It was more important than my money. Everything. I threw everything away to stay high on crack cocaine. And this is all within 36 months, guys. I just didn't care. But I kept going. I still wasn't done. So they put me in Ball Hospital for 2 weeks. To give me intravenous antibiotics to try to kill the bone infection in there. My girlfriend was sticking me crack up in there on the 6th floor. So I smoked crack the whole time I was in Ball Hospital. The nurses knew. I can't believe they didn't kick me out of the hospital, but they didn't. After that, I got out. I went back home, and things went back to normal. And then, bam, 2 months later, the third arrest, boom, hit me again. So here I was, with another 15 grams of crack on me, and I was out at a hotel. And this time, the bone infection was back in my foot. My leg was rotting off again. It was all swelled up. And the first thing the cops did was they said, so they rushed me back over to Ball Hospital again. Now, this was 3 months after this, 6 months after the second arrest. So then they put me back in the hospital again. I was under Blackman County Jail's custody. So they had a cop there with me the whole time. But I was back in the hospital for another 3 weeks. And that doctor at that time said, I just got to cut this foot off. I said, well, no. I said, no, you're not. No, you're not. So I ended up having to get a second, third, and fourth opinion just to find a doctor that was willing to say that we can save that leg, because I just let it go. You know, I just lost control of everything. But by this time, guys, this was the last arrest, and our lives were just in total ruins. You know, there was 16 people, guys, that was directly connected to my cocaine use, and everybody out there in the world's got their own little drug tribes. You know, I mean, there's these 8 people, there's these 10 people, there's these 15 people. My crowd consisted of 16 people in my inner circle, and of course, they all had their people. So about 80 to 100 people around the stand was probably feeding off of my bag. But when I finally did manage to quit in that first year, I wasn't gung-ho about being in places like this. You know, I started off at NA, and I just went there. You know, I still had infection in my foot. I was still weak. I was 120 pounds lighter than I am right now. I was a skeleton. I was a skeleton. I was real pale. You can ask my mom how poor I actually looked. I just looked terrible. And everybody thought I was going to die. And then I finally started eating and drinking and sleeping again. And, just little by little, my health came back some. But I started going to meetings, and I started going to NA at that time. And I wasn't happy about it. I got a sponsor. I wasn't happy about that. He was some 25-year-old punk kid. I wasn't happy about that. Because I was 35. I wasn't going to take any shit from some 25-year-old punk. But this kid saved my life, and he was the first breath of fresh air that I'd smelled in a long time, because everybody by this time, everybody hated everybody. There was 16 of us that were close friends, and only 2 of us had jobs when this thing ended. Everybody was unemployed. Everybody was hooked. Everybody hated everybody. There was so much backstabbing, so much lying, so much manipulation. It was a nightmare. And I told myself, I said, I don't want to see you guys ever again. So once this thing finally ended, we all scattered. And then it was every man for himself. And they all moved on to other drugs. Now the reason why I'm telling you this is because the first year that I was in recovery, or at least I was faking to be in recovery, one of my party crowd friends died every month for the first 9 months. 16 people, 9 of them died in my first year of getting clean. Half of my party crowd just wiped out because they moved on to other things and other drugs, and there was all kinds of reasons, but it was all drug related. There was murders, there was suicides, there was numerous overdoses, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. I was one of these judgmental people back when I was drinking. I always thought that drugs were nasty and dirty, and I always told myself that I was never going to get to be a part of it, which what I wasn't understanding was alcohol was a drug too, but I never saw this when I was younger. I didn't see so many friends dying. But nobody directly died during my time, but we all moved on to other things, and then 2/3 of my party friends are now dead. And guys, I'm not that old. It's just it was a devastating thing. Now, about 7 months of me being clean, I actually had to tell my girlfriend to leave the house because because she was doing some pretty crazy things, just like the rest of us were. But we were all broke, we were all out of money, we were all still fighting this monkey that was on our backs, and we was all hooked still. It was just ugly. So she had to go stay with someone else. So, but she wasn't happy about it. She called me daily, and we still talked, and I just couldn't have her at the house because I just couldn't trust her yet, because I knew that she was still using. So, because I had to try and fight this thing, guys. I was going to meetings every day, and I just wasn't happy about it yet. But I did manage to start to stay clean, though. Remember, guys, I just came off of me taking a hit of crack every 5 minutes for 3 years. This was no easy feat for me to get over. This was difficult. I was just a miserable mess. I was so hateful. I hated the whole world. I hated life. I hated God. I hated everything. And I was blaming everybody for the miserable state that my life was in, because that's when the hard times happened, guys, was when I first woke up and I first saw the state that my life was in, and I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, I can't fix this. That's when suicide became an option. I said, man, I just can't do this. There was just no way out of this hell that I created for myself. And just when you think things can't get worse, they do. And me and my girlfriend was trying to, I paid for a high-priced lawyer for her too. So both of us got out of our legal trouble. But, here was the deal. She just couldn't get out, So when she stopped calling me on that second or third day, because, I knew something was wrong. Because every day of my life since I've been 14, her and I have talked daily. And, on that second day when she didn't text me, what my instincts was telling me was she was out on a binge. That she was out smoking more dope, and she fell off the wagon when she told me she was going to stay clean. So naturally, what I did was I went to a couple of our old dealers in Muncie, and they both said that they'd seen her in the last 24 hours. So I just thought that she was on a bender, and then come that third day, she didn't call. So I finally contacted the police, and I said, hey, look, I said, something's not right here. Even if she's on a bender, she wouldn't give me a text message. She'd done something. But so I sent people out on the lookout. I had the cops looking for her. I had anybody in town that I could think of. I said, if you see this truck, call me. Well, my cousin, he works for the street department, and his boss told him that they thought they spotted that truck out on County Road 100 out here going towards Eaton. And he called my aunt. My aunt called me, and then we go out there and we checked it out. And sure enough, there she was. There was 3 houses there, and two of them were vacant at the time. So the grass was really tall, and she pulled her truck all the way in to where I couldn't see anything but the back of the truck because it was like a hayfield. The hay was clear up to the half of to the back half of the truck. So I was going to walk up there and wake her up and tell her, hey, let me get out of here before somebody calls the cops on you. And I saw a green hose sticking out of the back window, but I thought at that time it was just tangled up and it was just all in a ball. But when I got up there and the grass was laid down, I saw the garden hose sticking out of the tailpipe. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. Just of everything that's just happened, why is she doing this now? And I just couldn't believe it. I was just so, even now, 8 years later, I just couldn't believe what I opened up the door and I always heard of people doing this, and then I saw that gas hose go in the back, and she was laying in the truck sideways like this, and she had a picture of me in her left hand and a picture of our daughter in her right hand, and she had her back set up against the door. So I opened up the door and her body fell out. So I grabbed her, and I was yelling for her, and I picked her back up and put her in. I shut the door, and I knew that she was probably dead at that time. I ended up going home, and I knew right then that I had to call my daughter, who was at college. I had to tell my daughter that I found her mother dead on suicide. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get that out of this. I can't even talk about this without taking me right back at the moment here. It's just it's the most painful thing that I've ever experienced in my life. This woman was, she was beside me every day of my life, and I told myself I was going to try and stay in control on this, but hey, look, this was out of my hands. My whole world fell apart. And I just couldn't stop it. I couldn't change it. I couldn't keep her alive. What I don't get was, this is where a lot of my anger came from. Was why didn't she call me? I don't know how to stop someone from killing themselves, but I'll call somebody that does. And I just didn't know what to do on this, and I was just so devastated, and I didn't know how to fix this, And at this time, I had 5 months clean, and I wasn't strong enough to get past this at this time. So so what I did was I went back out for a couple months. By this time, I had some money saved again, and I went back out for about 7 weeks. I stopped going to meetings, and I went back out and got back on cocaine for about 2 months straight. It was dawning on me that my daughter was about ready to live without 2 parents, because I was about to, I'm all right lately, thanks though. My sponsor, my sponsor came and knocked on my door, and he saw me. He saw that I was thin again, and I was pale, and I was malnourished, and I was dehydrated, and he knew that he knew what was going on. He didn't have to ask me, and he just said one thing to me. He said, "Are you ready to finally surrender and start this thing?" And I said, "Yeah, look, dude, I don't even know what that even means." But you know what? He patted me on the shoulder and he said, "Buddy, yes, you do." And you know what? He was right. I did know. I know what the term surrender means, but what this truly means, guys, is you need to admit the first step to God. Because I've never once before in my life ever told anybody what I said during my very first surrender to God, but I'm going to tell you guys. And after my sponsor left that day, and I was just beaten, I was just broken, and I told God this. I was crying, I was an emotional mess, and I said, God, this drug's beat me every day since I touched it. I said, just please, just God, I can't live like this another day. Because I'm never going to get my life back. I'm never going to be employable again. I'm never going to get my health back. I will never accomplish anything good in my life again until this cocaine addiction is out of my life. I was yelling at God. I need help. For God's sakes, help me. And then my final statement to God in that first heartfelt surrender was, hey, look, I said, look, I'm broke. I'm sick. I'm bankrupt. And I'm scared. I'm alone. I need help. And it's hard for me to truly admit fear, but I was just terrified. And you know what? I couldn't even kill myself because my girlfriend beat me to it. Somebody had to stay alive and fight this nightmare. So that's what I did. I did that first true heartfelt surrender. And then I got up and I went to an NA meeting that day. And that's when things changed, guys. I truly believe that's the only way home, because living in abstinence is not just enough, because we still stay bitter and we still stay angry, and we don't get this crap out, and it's only through asking for God's help and admitting the first step that we can actually start to heal the wounds of addiction. And that's just how it works, and that's the only way that I've found that this has gotten me to where I'm at, and it's just that was the road home. And then I started going to meetings every day again, and then I actually started to share, and I started to listen, and I started to hug people, which is something that we do, and it's just I became part of the process. And I'm never going to forget that first surrender, guys, because that's the most important day that I've ever lived, and it's more important than my birthday, and it's more important than Christmas. That was July 5th, 2008, and that's the last day that I ever used drugs. So that was. Thank you. And it's I didn't see any lightning, bolts or any flashes of light in the sky when I made this first surrender, but I did notice that that's when my life started to turn, and I see that now as I look back on the pattern. And they say when you work the first 12 steps that at the end of working the 12 steps, you experience a spiritual awakening as a result of working the steps. But what I've noticed now as I look back is that I noticed God working in my life when I saw the old Ryan back. I saw that I was worried about my appearance again, and I was worried about my health again, and I was worried about my parents and my family again. And when I signed back up for college and I started setting goals again, life mattered to me again. That's when I knew God was working through me again. And that's when, I've never looked back since. And I've talked to, God has been so many awesome people that I've met through the programs of recovery, like CR here, which is Celebrate Recovery, Friends, Hope AA, and I'm a part of all of them. And they all work through me, and I've met so many awesome friends. And that's what saved me, guys, was God, recovery meetings, and fellowship. And it's worked for me for a lot of years now. And a lot of people ask me how long I'm going to keep doing this, because I've been clean now for going on a decade. Why are you still here? I'm like, well, because it's still working. And why am I going to give up something that saved my life and it continues to make things better? Right. And and it is. This is just, I love this, and I love the people, and because I'm not going to bars. Why would I? I don't drink, and this is part of my life now. Recovery is something that I do every day, and surrender is not a one-time deal, guys. We've got to. A lot of people think that this is just a one-time thing, and then your journey begins. But for me, surrender starts every morning when I wake up and I talk to God, and I just ask for another day clean, and another day of me being healthy, me being able to help my parents and my friends, and me giving assistance when I can, within reason. So it matters to do me. And Sponsorship, guys. I mean, I can talk about my first sponsor for an hour. I mean, this guy really, he put so many tools in my recovery toolbox that I can't even begin to, it was through him that I stuck around, because really, I didn't want this. I mean, he just kept knocking on my door, I'm not doing that with my sponsees, because I feel like they need to get up and they need to walk. I'm not carrying no one. But he carried me for a while because he saw that I needed it. So that actually gave me another tool that I can do for other people. Is I'll carry people until I just can't keep carrying them anymore. Because at some point in time, I mean, I just have to. I've been having a hard time with this year. I've been dealing with a couple of guys that they want my help, but they just don't have the desire to get clean yet. And that's the key word, guys, because none of this matters. I mean, treatment facilities don't matter. Recovery meetings don't matter until you have desire. There's nothing none of us can do here. That's it. That's the first step. First you have to have desire, then you have to have surrender, and then the wounds of addiction will heal. Then you can learn, you can read, you can watch, and everything will change. And if you stick around, I want to talk about mentors. I want to mention one guy's name here. I mean, this guy changed my life. Jerry Lytle. Some of you knew him. He was one of the first faces that I saw after my girlfriend killed herself. And I walked into an AA meeting, and he grabbed me by the neck. He got up and met me halfway across the door. And he said, "I'm sorry for your loss, buddy." He said, "But Ryan, you're going to get past this." And he looked at me and he said, "Ryan, I want you to stick around until the miracles happen." And I've been using that ever since, because that one statement changed my life. And I heard there's been a lot of mentors that said things like that to me that really had a powerful impact on me. And and this guy changed my life, because every time I went to a meeting, he was there, and he always talked to me, and he always had brilliant things to say. And that's why I'm still active in the meetings, because everybody's got a voice. I mean, whether you got 55 years clean, you got 5 days clean, you all have a story. I mean, we all have experiences and me hearing your stuff is just as important as you hearing mine. Because you people fuel my recovery. Because I need this. I can't keep what I have without giving it away, guys. I have to. I got to be here, and I got to share with others, and I got to try and help people. Otherwise, my recovery program dies. One last thing about Jerry. He was a mentor for mine all through my clean time up until a couple years ago when he passed away. Jerry was a young man. He was only about 63. But we had a Thanksgiving annual AA dinner there at the Armory here in town, about 5 blocks away from where we're at. And we ate our meal, and about 3 or 4 years ago, he got up on the podium and he spoke before the crowd, and he let us know that he had an inoperable brain tumor. And I believe that's what it was. But anyway, the doctors told him that he was in the last year of his life. And that devastated all of us that actually knew him, and because we leaned on him, and we counted on his support to keep us to keep us straight. And I didn't know what to say to Jerry that night. I saw him about 3 months later at the water department. We were supposed to be paying our water bills. And I said, "Jerry," I said, "aren't you pissed off? Don't you want to go out and drink and get high? And you're in the last year of your life." And Jerry looked at me, and this is the final lesson that he ever gave me. He said, "Ryan, just because I'm in the last year of my life doesn't mean I got to screw that year up." And that's the last lesson Jerry had to tell me, because Jerry died sober. And he was a powerful man to me. I just there's a couple of guys here tonight, Eric and Pat. I mean, these two here have been a strong influence to me. And I've met a lot of great mentors throughout my time. And I'm just grateful that these people are still coming around, because if you guys stop coming, I mean, what am I going to do here? Because I need you. All of us on this earth, guys, we have 2 things. We have God and we have each other. I mean, nothing else matters. Big Macs, cars, mansions, you flush all of them. We have God and we have each other. So why not lean on both of those resources so we can continue to find a better way to live? Amen. Yeah. So it's I've met so many wonderful people through the last 8 years, and I've set so many goals, and everything is. I never thought I would be where I'm at in such a short time. I mean, I wish I had something to say about how this all happened, because when I first started using it, I said my life is just unrepairable. I can't fix this. But all I did was I woke up every day and I went to a recovery meeting, and I didn't use no matter what, and my life grew before my very eyes. Everything came back, and the legal problems left. My health came back. Everything that I needed came back. Everything that I lost. My all my friendships are just men. They're perfect. I don't have one bad relationship in my life today, and I haven't for a lot of years. And here's the one point that is worth my entire recovery, guys. I haven't had to tell a lie in about a decade. It's great. So all these negative things that happen during or using, that it's no longer part of my life. And that's why I strive to help the newcomer, because I see people that are as broken as I was. And thank God for my first sponsor, that he stepped up to the plate and he saved me. I don't know how I would have gotten through this without him, because I need people. I couldn't have done this by myself, and I had to keep going to meetings so I could continue to learn, and that's why I'm still there, because I'm still learning as we speak. It's just this is a spiritual progress, and I'm never going to get to spiritual perfection. But what I can do is I can improve every day that I'm on this earth, and I want to lead by example. That's why I'm here. Because I want to be one of those guys that I want the younger people to look at me like I looked at Jerry Lytle. I want my life to change theirs with my words like his did to me. It's important to do me. It matters. And spiritual principles, guys, this is something that we use in all the programs. This is nothing more than waking up every day and living right and being honest and doing the right thing and doing unto others that you would want them to do to you. To me, that's living by spiritual principles. It's being a decent, hardworking human being and helping others when you can, and taking care of yourself, taking care of your families. And again, that's why we're here. So, I'm sure I missed out on a few things here, but I'm just glad that I can still be a part of this, and I'm glad that I survived, and I'm always here for any of you if you need me. And I live for trying to help people who are still struggling. So it's something that I hope to do. I want to be one of those guys that gets a 38-year clean tag. I'm going to bounce around like Rocky. I'm going to get that 38-year Toyota. Yeah, big old gray beard, no teeth. But, get out of my way, boom. There's another saying in one of the programs that says that after you've been clean for a while, you're not going to regret your past, nor are you going to wish to shut the door on it. And I don't regret what I've been through, because it brought me so much knowledge, and everything has fallen back into place. There's another saying here that and when I went through this whole experience, and I believe this is God lets you hit rock bottom because there's something down there He wants you to see. And that's how I actually view this, because I had to lose my job and my health and my business and my girlfriend and my money to actually see what mattered in life. And that was family, and that was health, and that was friendship. And I couldn't have got through this without my mom and my dad. I can't thank my mom and dad enough. They were both big. They saved my life. First they raised me for the first 18 years, and then when I was 35, they had to take care of me again for about a year while I got my life back on track. And again, I realize not everybody has that, so that goes on my gratitude list that I had such wonderful parents. And now I've got such a strong circle of friends, and there's no drama, and everything's great, and I don't know what else to say other than recovery's worth it. And I'm not going to say that it was easy at first, because it's not. I'm just saying it's going to be worth it. And I'm not saying recovery is going to mean that bad things still don't happen, because they do. And that's the purpose of the fellowship. That's why we're here at CR and AA and NA and Brand. It's to talk about current issues that's eating our lives. And we're here to support each other and give each other advice, and to help each other move forward and to stay clean through the process. Recovery meetings aren't about talking about war stories from the past. It's about dealing with the present and trying to find a better way to live one day at a time. And that's why I'm here. And I said that 8 years ago, and I've been doing it every day ever since. And I just never thought I would be as calm and as happy and as healthy as I am now. Thank you for letting me share, guys. I hope this is all right. Let me get this other thing